The activity we have here is based on an agreement that we have with the Africa Capacity Building Foundation, who has provided us with some grant to undertake a number of research studies, basically to enhance economic governance. It's an economic governance project funded by the African Development Bank. And it has a number of themes that we are looking at. There's the research and dissemination activities on various themes, which I'll outline later. Then there's also the training. There are two training programs there on financial governance principles for parliamentarians, as well as macroeconomic policy modeling for the economic ministries. Then there's national dialogue on sessions on implementation of the special economic zones and the development of trade and trade policy implementation and industrialization policy.
This study is very critical because the idea now is to create a consensus, a common understanding. That's why at the inception meeting we've agreed to bring the key stakeholders, whether from the employer side, from the union side, from the academia, from the central bank, government, departments, so that we can all put our heads together so that we have a common understanding of where the distortions could be.
When we were doing some invitations, when we said to some stakeholders, can you come and make a presentation? Some were hesitant. It's like they wanted to make a PowerPoint presentation. Not so much that. It's actually reacting to the presentation and where you think the study team should focus on. I think that's the input that you want to receive from yourselves. And where you think there's an issue that needs to be framed better, so that we can come out with, because at the end of the day, we need to come out with practical recommendations. It's not an academic exercise, but it's to come up with practical recommendations.
A huge majority of our employees are now in the non-formal segment. 94.5% of them are in that segment. So what are the implications? We are regulating one segment which is shrinking, but the other segment is growing, isn't it? And it's not regulated. So what are the implications in terms of our development strategy as a nation?
The status of teachers generally has been on the fall, and the fall of the status of educators is actually the fall of the civilian's life as well. That is a sign that the quality of service delivery in the service is poor. The salary levels have been stagnant for 5 years, since 2013. Not even the allowances themselves. So you don't expect yourself to see an improvement in the quality of the life of the teacher and in terms of their life being, when they are on average, a teacher who probably holds up to a master's degree would be earning as little as 284 take home. And this is a family man who must rent the accommodation. It's a family man who must also go to work. It's a family person or woman who must fend for the parents and the extended families.
You then need the information. Where are the challenges? Where are the distortions? What is the best mode of intervention that we can adopt?
They think that labor market segmentation will actually automatically give us an ease of doing business by putting arbitrary special economic zones. That has nothing to do with collective bargaining, but that has anything to do with the employer, a farmer or a mine owner, to hire and fire willy-nilly, and also disallowing trade unions to enter into those premises and discuss anything to do with rights. So I think when you look at such points, I know these politicians, they are the ones that give you that, can you work on this? I think you have to debunk them from that shrewd thinking and give them the correct narrative.
The issue is, what distortions are leading to this? And what is the ideal position that we should aim for? And what steps do we need to take in terms of recommendations to say, this is what can resolve this problem? Flexibility is not a panacea. What is the panacea?
I think we will, this study will have to introspect some political and policy related issues beyond just labor market distortions.
Well, government can come in, it can come in as an arbitrator, it can come in as an employer, and so on. But those two, the employer and the employee, those are the people academically who say, okay, these two have a conflicting interest, right? These ones, they want to maximize their income. These ones, they would prefer a situation whereby labor would work for nothing and take all the profits. So that's the issue. So it's an issue of demand and supply. And then you say, okay, put these things together, and then you have equilibrium wage, equilibrium, but that's theoretical. And then you say, if the wage is above the equilibrium, who is causing that distortion? That is a government, maybe through minimum wages. That can be trade unions, maybe asking for too much. And then if it is below, who is causing that? It's from the other side, which is the employers.
Why is it that we are unable to compete productively in the manufacturing sector with other countries in the SADC? Is it lack of skills? Is it what? If we were to focus it along that line, those lines, that was going to be good. But here, the situation that we have, let's be honest to each other, it's not to do with that. Manpower is there, that's why he has just told you, we have trained a lot of people who are well equipped. People don't want to go and retool. People don't want to engage skilled people. But to them, they will say, I think in this sector, in this mining sector, we don't want labor laws to apply, because if you employ an engineer, the mining union will come and say, this person is graded along these lines and his job title interpretation is this. And we'll say, let's call this section a special economic zone, so that we attract investors. They come, we tell them, no, don't worry about labor laws. No, we are in a special economic zone. That's the segmentation that they are normally taking on board. That's our experience, and this is very graphic.
The high number of people looking for jobs obviously affect those who are already in employment.
It pains you when you trained somebody, say in 2000, and you hear him calling, haven't you heard of something? Said, when did you graduate? Says 2000. What have you been doing? Nothing. And then there is something called hysteresis unemployment. Then you know the skills are gone. Right? Now, those people would want information. Because is it a question of misinformation about the labor market? Then labor information is then important to me from my constituents. Where are the jobs?
I have produced 6 graduates, but none of them is employed in Zimbabwe. I have one in Zimbabwe around who is looking for a job. I was telling good news, so that she can go to South Africa. Etapa muhondo ndo zvandakasevenzera upenyu hwose kuisa mari pavana ivavo kamota yangu pachangu handina. But they don't get jobs here, and they are not doing any service to this economy. So is that not a distortion in its own? Labor market mobility. It's one challenge that we have. Is really our labor that we're actually talking about able to move from one area to the other? Say for those, some of us who are brave, we have actually managed to go across the borders. Some of them have known Kumvuru, and that's the area that they grew up, and really they have no other relatives to help them move from Vuru to go to Kadoma when the job actually comes into place in that area.
If you look in the region, the reason why your children are going to South Africa is more advanced in terms of its industries. And the reason why you were saying there are more people employed in the rural areas is because our economy has become just an agro-based economy. Most people are just into farming because the industry is not really functioning. And I also wanted to ask, what are the possibilities of achieving full employment under global capitalism, which is very advanced technology?
If we look at the impact of those distortions on labor, then we would tie it into regulations and law so that the labor is protected. And we can also tie it to investment laws to say, okay, if you come into Zimbabwe to invest, we don't expect you to abuse our people.
For us as a ministry, right now we are in the process of reviewing the national employment policy. So some of the findings of this study, I think they are going to be very important in terms of feeding into the actual formulation or review of our national employment policies.
At the international level, currently there is what is called the decent work agenda. How much is this labor market flexibility being discussed today ensures that the decent work agenda will be achieved as it is objected to achieve?
Labor and capital are two sides of the same coin. There can't be capital without labor, and there can't be labor without capital. So both basically need each other.
Even the formal sector players now are increasingly engaging in informal labor practices. It's on record. You have big formal companies now, informalizing or a huge part of their labor workforce. So this is where I think the two begin to intersect.
It's one issue to have rights in the constitution, but it's quite another story to have those rights enjoyed on the street. So I think the rights discourse in Zimbabwe has to be introspected, because we have a lot of rights on paper, but those rights that we never enjoy.
Can corruption cause distortions in the labor market? Can corruption cause this? Because that's a topical issue in our economy, that there is a lot of corruption. Whoever is campaigning, I say, I will deal away with the corruption. But to what extent is this corruption? Is it causing distortions? Probably people are monopolizing certain industries. I don't know. This allocation of resources that is happening today, can they really be a cause of distortions in the labor market?
Mantra, Zimbabwe is open for business. I want to add my weight onto it. It is obfuscating reality. It is hiding reality. It's not a genuine mantra. And when we see it from our friend, because this folk language, when you want to confuse people, you put some mist in your language, and then the language does not sound very exactly what you say, but you have got the intentions. This is a good language which will resonate with the Davos meeting. When you are in Davos, that kind of language is understood. But when you are talking to the ordinary man, me and you, in the street, who must have bread and butter, I'm worried about cash in the bank. Not only the cash to borrow and make business, but cash that I have worked for, just to give me my cash. And I go home and give my children bus fare, and that is all I need. This is the ordinary man in the street. But when I talk the Davos language to this person, I think time is running out for delivery. This is language which is very misty, and this language which is hiding sincerity and the facts of who I am. So I'm carrying a facade. There is a curtain, and behind the curtain there is the reality of me. But what you see is a curtain. This is therefore an inspiring hypocrisy which we can have to deal. And the contradiction of that hypocrisy is now revealed by the intemperament and the intolerance that is being done to the nurses. Clearly, we're seeing it therefore this as a neoliberal agenda which is taken from 1995, where we lost it and we lost all the development, and it's harnessing. Today, as we talk, you may need anything like 80 to 100 times what to invest in education to correct the errors.
So this is where we say an exercise of undertaking the research and be able to put the evidence there and say this is what is there. So information asymmetry and distortion of information can also be a distortion that's confusing the market.